Welcome back, all you beautiful people of Hexaco. Got a very special guest with me today. You might remember her as an early HEX and PulseChain supporter for a long time now, Hex OG, but also just being in the crypto space in general. She's written for Bitcoin Magazine and stealthily shilled Hex in there. She's been an ally of all of crypto for a long time now. You might also know her from Building Bridges, which was a series that you had, I believe, where you actually tried to branch out and be friends with other communities. What a crazy concept. One of the few people to ever do that. And
I was ahead of my time.
Yeah. Because now that PulseChain is out, everyone's all about community building now, of course. But back then it was, you were a Hex Maxi, or there's a lot more of that tribalism, right? Of you're either with us or against us, pick one.
So. Yeah, I think people kind of woke up. I mean, it's like funny because DC and I were just talking about this on Saturday, is how much things have shifted and how interesting it's going to see like what some of the people who were super maximalist and things were like last cycle are going to be like in the next cycle. Because if you were like a hardcore, you're not a Hexican unless you're 100% 5555 staked person, you got wrecked, like wrecked hard. So it's going to be hard to be super smug about that in this like next cycle.
No. It's a badge of honor, for some people having a maximum length stake. I have one, I'm sure you have one too.
Yeah.
But that's one of my stakes. I don't just go all in and hope for one day, 15 years from now, to be able to enjoy my profits. Like, I want to live. I want to take profits and have my staking ladder. And so that's what I've kind of always recommended people is the way you do Hex right is the staking ladder. You can be 100% staked, but you always want to at least have something coming out in the next, 6 months or 3 months or whatever, so that you can plan accordingly. Maybe if it's the bear market, maybe you just restake it. But if it's the bull market, then take some profit, Don't shoot the messenger here, but you were obviously one of the proponents of taking profit in the last bull cycle. And I don't think a lot of people like to listen. It's easy to say that also now at the lows too. People, that makes sense to people. They're like, oh yeah, of course. But we'll see, right? Because when the bull comes back and everyone's at euphoria, peak highs, it's, they want to buy more at that time, when really that's, not really the time to be getting in at all. It's just hard to not get caught up in that. So how did you go against the grain, I guess?
So this last cycle was my second cycle in cryptocurrency, and I got really wrapped up in it the first time in like 2016, 2017, and didn't take profits when I was up like, I don't know, 1,000x or something. Yeah. And then at that time I was like really struggling to find work and stuff too. So and I was trying to like break into the crypto market in like the bear market of 2018 and 2019. So I got wrecked. Essentially, I got absolutely and completely obliterated. And then I knew how to recognize euphoria. So where a lot of people like read the charts or, look for technical analysis indicators, I'm not looking at that at all. I'm looking at behavior on social media.
That I could not agree more. And I have almost a similar story, right? Because I, like you, got in 2015, rode a cycle all the way up and down, and just held my bags all the way up, all the way down, even went all in, and I aped in. I put my 401k into Bitcoin at $17,000, and I watched. But hey, I mean, 401k is like just worst case scenario insurance, right? So I had to really cope with that, and I doubled down at the lows, luckily, and dollar cost averaged in. But I think you need that learning cycle to really appreciate what's going on and how to take profit when it's time. And it's not like you ever sell your whole bag, but if you at least just can take enough to survive till the next bear market, like I say, survive till 25, right? Yep. You don't have to. How much money do you really need to pay yourself a little bit, to have a nice cushion until markets come back, and then you can maybe even buy the dip again when the dips come back. Crazy concept, but yeah, I totally agree with the social metrics and just looking around when Paris Hilton is bragging about NFTs, or Elon Musk is tweeting about Dogecoin. That's kind of a top signal, right? Or like it's funny, the Furu eulogy, right? I saw your stream with Miguel, and it reminded me of all that stuff, because you guys, I mean, we all go way back, and you were kind of reminiscing about that cringe video that I was unfortunately I had a little 2-second cameo in.
No, I mean the video is hilarious, right? And
Yeah,
Freddie is like an incredibly talented lyricist and
right.
artist. So like no hate on the artistry behind the
It
video.
was well done. You know,
It
it was
was
like,
amazing.
yeah. But it was just the sentiment of it was like, hey, we're dancing on your graves. But then the fact that it was the top signal, almost literally, was like, ooh,
Yeah.
yikes. It's timing, you know.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, like, yeah, that's the thing is when you start to see those, like, I don't know, it was uber cringe, right? Like,
So, funny story about that. I was like, I wasn't even gonna go, and I was just at my house in Chicago, whatever. Kinetics calls me like the day before it's happening, and it was going. We were filming it in somewhere on the East Coast. I can't even remember, but he's like, "Hey, man, you got to come. You got to come do this music video. It's gonna be awesome." And he was hyping it up so much, and I was like, "Oh, I really don't want to. I have to hop on a red eye then tonight." And it's just like I was like drinking the night before. I think I went out. It was like a Saturday night, and so he just somehow convinced me. He's like, "You don't want to miss this." And in hindsight, obviously, I wish I just went to bed, but I stayed up, took a red eye, was like super jet lagged, paid for like, overpaid for a plane ticket just to go there for like 4 hours and then flew back home like later that night. And I was just like, I was in a delirium. And when I came back home, I was like, did that really just happen? Like, what did I really just fly for like 8 hours just to go, be
dance
in
on graves.
a video? Yeah. And I guess I did. But hey, it'll be one of those memories that we'll all laugh about, especially future cycles to come, I'm sure.
I think that video is going to go down in history as like one of the like greatest moments and also most terrible moments in Hex history, and that you're going to be like immortalized.
Oh yeah. Well,
like
they're gonna put it in the movie, The Highest of Stakes.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will.
I'm in the movie too.
Yeah, congrats. Yeah, for people that don't know The Highest of Stakes, there's a documentary coming out about HEX and PulseChain. Probably more so about HEX and Richard Hart, really, but the community and the movement. And yeah, you've got a good quote over there about the whole Richard is God thing. I know you don't believe that, but that was you trying to sum up, I think, the mentality of when people look at HEX like a religion, which, people mistake. I think people get the wrong idea sometimes. They'll hear that little sound bite and they'll be like, who's that crazy Hexakin? Not realizing that, you're the one kind of studying the ideology, the religion aspect, because you go into all these communities too, and you try to understand why are we so tribal? What is it that makes, because it's like Miguel said it best. It's like mixing sports with religion, with stocks, with money. And so you're picking a team and an ideology, and there's a value attached to it. And we get really passionate about that. And we really like to be right. And we feel threatened when other people don't agree with us, because that threatens our livelihood. That threatens our money at our bottom line.
Ultimately, what I think it really comes down to is, in the same way that like religion is linked to our belief in what's going to happen to us in the afterlife, or if we're going to be reborn, or, whatever happens to us after we die. And that is linked to like your eternal freedom. Money is linked to your freedom in this realm. And so, like, when your freedom is threatened, you get like a caged wild and like a caged beast. But like, I didn't even know. So recently I was talking to RG, and he told me, because a long time ago, Rockham and I had like gotten into a fight, and I did not understand why Rockham was mad at me. And RG told me just like a week or two ago that it was because I said, if Hex is a religion, then Richard is God. But that he thought that I meant that, and like that I was saying that Richard is God. But I really I thought that it was fairly clear that I don't think that,
Well, with the movie magic, they can kind of spin it anyway and take some things out of context. And it really is a hard hitting soundbite. It gets people's eyeballs. But then, unfortunately, some people are going to think that you're the crazy religious zealot, and you're just making more so commentary. And you've been doing this for years too, of just writing articles and all this stuff behind the scenes that people don't really see. But you've been putting Hex on the map and introducing it to other communities, you even snuck it into Bitcoin Magazine, which I thought was pretty badass. And
I'm never allowed there again, by the way.
Really? What happened?
I'm completely blackballed.
Oh shit! Really?
I mean, like not from broader crypto, but more or less from Bitcoin. Like there are Bitcoiners who will talk to me behind the scenes, but no one who will talk to me in front of a camera or or quote. Yeah.
Well, it's ironic too, because the same maximalism that is, affects maybe 10 or 20% of hexagons also affects that 10 or 20% of crazy Bitcoiners too. Bitcoin maxis is what they're called. And they're like people that are anti any other innovation besides the one that they hold. And it's kind of gross because it's like, they just want to be like you're hoping everything else fails, even the dollar dies. And then everyone comes to you for salvation because you're the one that bought Bitcoin. It's kind of like a self-serving attitude where I think it's a scarcity mindset. Like there's not enough to go around, when it's like, they're printing money out the wazoo. Like we don't need, this money's got to go somewhere. Why doesn't it just flow in? And it doesn't have to go into one coin, but it should flow into the narratives and the products that are, objectively better in the long run.
And everyone like hated or some degree, I mean, like there's some speculation or some wavering, but Richard is like the most polarizing figure that I've ever seen in cryptocurrencies. And like, I've been working with crypto communities since before HEX existed. And he is, in my opinion, I mean, like he's way up there. If he's not the top, he's like right up there.
Yeah, he is. And people don't want to like him, I think, because he doesn't maybe fit the mold of, a lot of Web3 is kind of just like Web2 with a new logo, right? It's like all the same suits and VCs and corporate interests trying to get their little hands and tentacles in there. But Richard's just himself, right? And I think really that authenticity of, you've got this guy who's got this, strange background, who happens to be really, really smart, but also, doesn't really talk like, a VC or like a CEO of a company.
Right.
It's just real. I think the people that recognize that and see, some of that in themselves, he's really relatable to those people, but he threatens the status quo of what, a crypto guy should look like. I've always respected him because I think he's maintained the original cypherpunk ideals as close as anybody has without selling out. He's kind of doing crypto what it was supposed to be. And people hate that. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I think that his voice sounds so authentic, and not just like, I mean, actually audibly, he sounds different. Like if you were just, I don't know, had some videos streaming while you were doing something else and you were kind of like passively listening, or had a podcast streaming, and then a Richard video comes on, the like tone and pitch of his voice is completely different. Like that's actually what happened is that I had videos just running and I was like, who is that?
Yeah. Well, when he talks about things in a way that he makes incredibly complex things seem very simple. And, his tonality, he's a master of, or he's studied NLP, natural language programming, I believe. And that's just all about the way that your inflection and your body language just, influences what people think about you. Same thing with, he pays really high attention to detail in his audio and his visual quality. He's an audiophile. He's basically an audio nerd. He looks up all this. He can name you every tech spec about a camera and a microphone that no one even cares about. But when you see it in 4K on a live stream for 2 hours, and this guy's just, battling or, it's good advice, little tidbits, one after another. And you're like, how is he going for so long? Just nothing but valuable information. And so people miss that right now, right? He hasn't streamed in a while. Like, do you think
people are freaking out, man?
Like, Stockholm syndrome, dude? It's like people put way too much importance on the live streaming, and they don't focus on the fact that I think the guy's building stuff, right? Let the guy build. I mean, in the long run, if you want real money to flow into these products in the long run, they have to be good products. These aren't just meme coins. And I think a lot of people are treating this cycle too as another, just a pump and dump. I'm going to just buy the bottom, sell the top, and run away. And I think they're missing the larger point that the world is heading towards a fully crypto world. And you want to be here a decade from now too.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that is what is kind of cool about staking, is that it can protect you from yourself if you know that you're going to be like, hey, I am gonna sell everything if it 2x's, and I
Mhm.
don't want to because I know that the potential is there for 1,000x or 100x or whatever it is. So like that is a genius feature of Hex that people miss,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
protection from yourself. I mean, like it sounds ridiculous, but like I get that. I'm
mm,
not the kind of person who's like gonna sell on a 2x and like
yeah.
panic, but a lot of people are.
Yeah. I mean, I have my staking ladder for that reason, but again, like we mentioned earlier, it's not all just launch it 15 years. It's just stagger it. Maybe you stagger some more stakes when you think the bull markets are going to be 24, 25. Maybe you don't have as many stakes in 26, 27. Maybe you do more in 28, 29. Like do whatever you think is right for you.
Yep.
I'm going to address the chat really quick because I totally forgot to say hi to everybody. What's up,
Okay.
Kaiza? You're always here. Great to see you. Fox, Dixon Cider, the usual suspects. Red Squirrel, as always. Red Squirrel's hiding his nuts in the chat. We got Money Gang. Thank you so much for coming. Shout out to everyone but Red Squirrel. That's right, guys. Hit the likes. Hit the likes. My favorite crypto lady. Oh, that's directed to you, I'm sure.
Oh, hi.
I identify as a man, so I'm sure that's directed at you.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got Mango Junkie, of course. You didn't get wrecked if you didn't eat. Yes, true. Andy P, Crypto King. Thank you all for coming. And Wild SJ, can't forget. Thanks for coming by as always. Who else? Earthling. Got a lot of people. You've got some fans, and you've got some haters alike. So do I.
Oh
But
yeah, in the chat.
no,
What are they
not in the chat. Not
saying?
in the chat. But I wanted to. I want to talk about that. It's like you eat a lot of shit for Hex. For promoting Hex, even from within our own community. And
Yeah.
I don't know why that. It's like I think what you're doing is net positive. Let me just say
Mhm.
that.
Thank you.
Building the bridges, getting into other communities. I mean, it's kind of triggering to some people, I guess. But like, oh, you shouldn't be talking to those guys.
Right.
But I think you made progress in terms of getting new people onboarded. Should be respected. But how do you deal with all that, all the haters out there?
So, okay, I even knew in the moments when it was like really hardcore, when I was doing building bridges and super active in the community, I was very consciously aware that the sentiment towards me was overall positive. But it doesn't change that how it feels when there are people like just hating on you. And
Mhm.
like what happened was that I was I was traveling for work. I was going to a conference in Dubai. I decided to take some time off from the stream to travel. I took like 2 weeks off. My life was so much better just as a result of not streaming for those 2 weeks. And my anxiety levels went down by so much that I just never picked the stream back up again.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I noticed your YouTube channel was a little dead, but I know that like you're doing a lot more. You're not just sitting around all day. But
Yeah, well, I mean, so I do have a job.
yeah,
And I also like write articles for a variety of crypto media outlets and stuff.
yeah.
So I do stuff that's like within the Hex community. I do stuff that's, outside of Hex. It's like my paid job. I just do stuff that I think is interesting in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, that like well, the building bridges was always on Discourse Syndicate. It was never on my
Oh,
personal
right.
YouTube channel. But yeah, it was really like it wasn't super popular. It wasn't making me happy, and it was like
Yeah.
time to go.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And if it's not sticking after a while, and you have a life, which is a foreign concept to some people in crypto that are just scrolling through Twitter nonstop all day long.
Yeah,
If
no, I'm totally guilty of like way too much Twitter, and it definitely has like takes a negative toll on you. Like social media in
Oh
general
yeah.
is so toxic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so really, even in those moments, I knew that the sentiment was like really positive, but it was too much for me. And also, I'm a writer. Like,
Yeah.
I express myself better in written format, and I like to sit there and really think about what I'm going to say and the exact terms that I'm going to use. And like, this is fun. We're just kind of spitballing, but it's difficult to like, I mean, you do this all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
do you experience burnout?
You do. If you're not talking about things that are interesting to you, it's hard to just repeat the same old facts about hex. You make a hex tutorial one time and you never want to make it again, even though you know that like there's so many new people in the ecosystem. And yeah, they could just scroll down and click on your video, but they don't like to scroll down. Apparently, that's too much work for their little fingers. So like making the same content and saying the same things does get a little tiring, but that's why I like to just spice it up, have, people on like yourself or other, yesterday I had the guys from Hedron on. I find, when I'm getting burnt out with one topic, I'll just focus on some different topic, different route. I'll even write an article every now and then, just changing it up, but yeah, I hear your dog in the background. That's funny.
Sorry.
It's all good, no problem. So, I named the title of this stream "Surviving the Crypto Bear Market," and it's easier said than done, right? And I know a lot of people out here, they might have bought the top or near the top. Maybe they're dollar cost averaging. I mean, if you're watching right now, congrats for having, not leaving and still being here. But it's tough, and this isn't our first rodeo. So, going along with the haters and all that, how do you survive the bear market when sentiment is down? Nobody wants to believe. What do you do?
Well, it's really hard to do it once you're already in it, because there's so many things that you can do ahead of time to prepare yourself for it so that you like can sustain. But if you haven't done those things, then I think it's difficult, not just financially, but emotionally. Like, I know that even though I have taken profits, even though I still have an income, even though everything, my emotions are tied to the market. So like, I'm exceptionally low, I have lower energy than I have, during a bull market. And I think just being aware of those things can help us. Obviously, taking profits and not quitting your jobs are things that can also help us, but those are things that require foresight.
Yeah. I mean, it's very sound advice. Don't quit your day job, people, until, maybe 1 or 2 cycles from now.
Well, here's the deal. Quit your day job if you have enough money, if you've taken and realized enough profits so that you don't have to have income for 3 years.
Yeah.
Then fine.
And I think that's great advice because you'll find that when you retire, in quotes, nobody really ever retires. Like you don't, after 2 weeks of sitting around or after like 3 months of just going out drinking and partying every day, you're going to get really depressed and feel this lack of purpose. And so that kind of happened to me too. And like, okay, I retired from my 9-to-5 rat race job, but it's like, no one really ever retires. You work all the time. And so I ended up taking the channel to kind of another level, doubling down on the YouTube channel, doubling down on the course. And I've created basically a business that's paying me just as much as a full-time job would. So, it keeps me from even having to sell crypto. Right. But it's also just been a nice, so I guess for people, watching, I think starting a side hustle or focusing on your side hustle is a great thing to do to keep your mind off of the bear. And like Nerd Girl said, if you can cash out just enough to take that risk and be able to say, if this doesn't work out, at least I can survive another year.
Right.
That's kind of what you want to do, because if you're doing something that is more purposeful, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not saying everyone go start a crypto YouTube channel.
No, and definitely please don't. Honestly, like
some of you should not.
There are some people who really should and can really help, but like not everyone needs to be an influencer. Not everyone needs to create a YouTube channel. Not everyone needs to work in crypto.
That's some harsh truths right there. Yeah. But like, look, maybe you're an expert at something else. Maybe you want to talk about that. I do think there's a lot of power to being a public voice on, Twitter, YouTube, whatever platform it is. You don't have to be an influencer, right? But like you said, you're a better writer than maybe a live streamer. And so everyone can try to figure out what they're best at and what they're most interested in. And I guess just look towards, in a vacuum with no social media, no distractions, no drugs or alcohol, what does your mind gravitate towards? Do you like music? Do you play music? Maybe like, I mean, we got so many different types of people in the community, right? We've got people making, like Westcott makes like funny parody videos, and we've got this, I'm blanking on his name, but that guitar player, that rock star guy that made a song about hacks and stuff. And it's like you can just find funny ways to add to the ecosystem or not, and just work on a business, which will eventually free you from that economic slavery anyway. And then all the gains from crypto is like the cherry on top. It's like, oh, now you're super rich and you're doing something you love, and you forgot all about the whole depression of the bear market.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've gotten wrapped up in it, right? That 6 months when we were grinding sideways at 3 pennies for like, that was brutal, man. Like, what were you doing during that time?
Actually, like, so during a bear market, even during a bull market, I don't look at the price every day or even regularly. So I think that's like, I don't even know what period that was necessarily. I was just working. I was like writing articles, doing my job, like not worried about the price because I didn't have a bottom signal. Great. Yeah. Let's hope so. Because I didn't like, I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of me just being way too lazy too. And like that contributed to depression. And like you said, that's not a good route.
No, it's a vicious cycle too. I've boredom, idle minds are the devil's playground. So
Yeah.
that's when I start turning to booze and just trying to fill the void with just pointless activities, and getting healthier, getting better sleep, eating, like getting my diet right, exercising. That's been the foundation for just my totally kind of 180 attitude lately in the past couple months. Whereas like, yeah, I was going through it in the bear market too, but now that I'm just trying to see it from a different way. When you can take care of those essential needs of your body, like, it's just so much easier to get out there and have that motivation.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that like I struggle with, and I'm working on my physical and mental health, continuously. But that's like one of the great things about crypto, or, about like if you do manage to take profits, and then you don't have to work at your like 9 to 5, or you don't have to work full time anymore, then you get to focus on your personal journey and,
Yeah, you can afford the time to think about these things. Whereas like, yeah, the rat race, you can't even, I mean, if you're a weekend warrior, you're chugging coffee all day at the 9 to 5, the job you hate. And then it's like, oh, it's Friday, I can finally have a drink at the bar with my friends. And then, oh, it's Saturday, let's go out and party all day. And then you're just like hungover all day Sunday. You don't even have time to think about a side hustle or any of these things. Or, exercise is the last thing on your mind. You're just thinking about, what you're going to order on DoorDash. And it's like, it's just a vicious cycle, so getting out of that, I think, is the most critical thing. And it's, I don't want, like, I feel like sometimes this channel turns into a little bit of like a self-help channel or like a little self-improvement advice, but that really is the foundation of good investing too. Because if your body's not taken care of, there's no way you're gonna be able to hold for a long period of time, or you'll get distracted. If you're chasing those dopamine hits, you're gonna get distracted by the shit coin of the week. I fall for it all the time. And I'm not saying every coin's a shit coin, right? But like, a lot of you guys are chasing these little 2x meme coins, and chances are you're too late if you found out about it after the pump. So
yeah. Don't buy green candles.
Yeah. Just do the opposite of what every bone in your body is telling you to do.
That really is what it comes down to, is like learning to what's the right word? Learning to override your base impulses.
Totally. Yeah. So I know you were talking about like women in crypto, all that stuff. We don't have to get into all that controversy of, red pill stuff, but like, you being a woman in crypto, I mean, there's not many, let's be honest, maybe 10% at the most, 20%, tends to be a male dominated space. Why do you think that is? And what's your experience been like trying to make it as a female?
Okay. So I think that anytime that you're the underrepresented party in a professional field, you actually have a pretty strategic advantage, right? Like I'm a woman who works in crypto. So, and because I am fairly well spoken and can articulate an idea, it's like pretty easy for me to get I think that it's easier probably for me to find work because people are like, oh, she's a girl, like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
different. That's
yeah,
cool. So like, and so in the same way that like it works against you. So anytime that you have that kind of advantage, there's like an equal but opposite disadvantage. And people want to always portray one side of the coin or the other side of the coin, but the reality is that they exist simultaneously.
yeah. Wow, well said. I mean, we live in a very nuanced world. Everybody wants it to be black and white. Females in crypto, they're rare specimens, and especially if they're smart too. So it's like if you can speak well, and you've got original thoughts, it's threatening to some men, I guess, who are probably just really insecure people out there. But it's also people will pretend that it's unfair because, oh, you've got your looks, and every guy just wants to watch a pretty girl and all that. But it's like, sure, but there's a difference between like I noticed that some women go into crypto treating it kind of like OnlyFans, right? And it's just like kind of just. And I'm not dissing on OnlyFans either, but then there's a lot more women that probably have more substance and try to actually work and explain and educate rather than just like showing nudes and saying, hey, send me crypto, right? Which is also not a bad thing either. I'm just saying.
So Miguel and I talked about this a little bit too, and like I have absolutely been guilty of shortcutting, to like get followers faster, to like
I would too. I would too. I mean,
yeah.
Are you talking about that meme? So chat might know you from the famous dirty talk crypto meme that you did. That's kind of, not gonna lie, that's where I first heard about you too. So but that was awesome. I mean, I thought it was hilarious. It was definitely got my attention, right? So
right. But I think there's a difference between people who just rely, like they're like, oh, I'm a girl, give me money, right? And I'm not gonna learn anything, I'm not gonna like contribute in any way. And someone who like uses things, uses whatever they have at their disposal, but also contributes value. And I mean, like maybe that's a cope on my end, because I've crutched.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I mean, like that video was pretty funny. It's super cringy, like yours, but like it's also funny. And like in between takes when I was recording that, I couldn't stop laughing. Like I was having so much fun.
Yeah. Well, it looked like it. Yeah. Everyone's going to go looking it up now. I don't even know where to find it. You did?
Yep.
Someone's got it out there.
Someone's got it for sure, but you're not going to find it on my
in the chat. Yeah. Yep. But no, I mean, it is a fine line between, what constitutes, and men are the same way. Like scammers are going to scam in different ways, however they can. And maybe some small percentage of females will be scammers, just like some small percentage of men will be. Like they just do it in different ways. And I don't really see anything wrong with, if your version of adding value is like treating crypto like OnlyFans, maybe you can argue that, yeah, there's a place for that. There's some lonely guys out there that want to pay for these pictures and whatever. And
I mean, obviously people are doing it. So there's a market.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't look, if people are willing to do that and pay for that kind of a thing, and they know what they're getting into, they know the transaction. It's like, is that really manipulating and scamming? I mean, I think it's more so, it's a gray area, right? But it's more so like, if someone was going to be like pretending that they're going to like meet up with a guy or like leading them on and then like not meeting up, it's a gray area. Just like, if a guy makes a shitcoin scam and pretends to hype it up, but in reality, he's dumping it on everyone's head or pretending to be smart, and he's like a snake oil salesman, then that's pretty shitty of the guy too. But it's then there's like people that make shitty meme coins that also believe in their own shitty ideas. And so it's like, sometimes the scammers don't even know that they're really scamming. They're just like not providing that much value.
Yeah, so I think that's like a really big thing, is that people buy their own bullshit. And it was not something that I realized until, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago when I was talking to someone and I was like, you are 100% full of shit, but you buy it. Like you actually have like convinced yourself that you're not full of shit. And that is scary. So like, it's again, checking your base impulses, right? Like, I feel like that's something that I do to myself where I'm like, are you buying your own bullshit?
It's hard to know, right? And that your conviction really does get tested, especially in crypto. You're like, am I really just in this crazy internet Ponzi scheme? And it's like, how I reason with it is basically, well, the government's scamming everybody, fiat is scamming everybody, and I mean, our Ponzi is better than their Ponzi, basically. If it's all a Ponzi, then our, Richard's quote, our magic made up internet money is better than theirs. And at least we have a product that actually has solid foundational, principles of decentralization and all that stuff. The pictures of the dogs are funny, but how many of those can there be? You got Shiba and Doge and the occasional Pepe, but for every 3 that win, there's 1,000 that lose. And people were actually gung ho about that in the past. People did buy their own bullshit, but this is going to sound really bad, but I always say like even Hitler thought he was doing the right thing. Crazy how someone's reality can just be 2 people can look at the same situation and just have completely different versions of reality.
Yeah, it's true.
It's hard to know it's hard to know like what the actual truth is, right? But I think the truth is just what resonates with the most people. Like that's what's going to end up shaping reality. I mean, if everyone starts to believe that Bitcoin has value, like it wouldn't have taken off unless everyone shared this imagined reality or, like a shared fiction that it does have value. It's only as good as the collective belief.
Right.
Same with HEX. Like we always talk about T-shares, right? It's all about the T-shares. But say that to a random guy in the street, he'll be like, what the fuck? Like, what's what even is that? Why should I care about that? I need money to pay for my groceries, bro.
Right. Totally. And that's actually like why Bitcoin maximalists kind of are the way that they are. They really, really bought that Bitcoin narrative. And then they feel like everything that came after, everything that came before and everything that came after is just a distraction. And that if everyone was just focused with all of their economic energy on Bitcoin, that things would be better.
See, I think that's a scarcity mindset because you agree, because on the battlefield of ideas, like the best narrative should win. And it doesn't have to be only one narrative. There's enough to go around where maybe we'll have 10, 50, 100 winners, but there's still going to be thousands of losers. I mean, there already have been, and there will continue to be. But, let's not try to suppress people's free speech. I mean, if an idea is bad, we should publicly ridicule that idea and just call it out and shine light on it. Right. Because like what was I saying, like sunlight is the best disinfectant, basically. Like if some idea really is shitty, it's like the whole Joe Rogan thing. I don't know if you've been following that on Twitter, right? The RFK anti-vax debate. That's probably not going to happen because, what's his face is kind of pushing out. Do it. Yeah. So funny. Never a dull moment on Twitter, huh? Elon Musk stepping in. Yeah. Crazy world.
Too much Twitter lately. Honestly, it's like,
it's overwhelming, dude. It's like, at what point does it become negative for your mental health? Because you want to keep up. You want to know what's going on. And I'm always finding new information that's good. And I'm trying to mute the people that are just energy vampires. But I'm still spending 2 to 3 hours a day on Twitter. And so maybe I should take my own damn advice sometimes and just like chill out a little bit. But, we do this for a living. So it kind of feels like we should be here. We need to know what's going on. I need to have my Richard Hart notifications on because what if something happens?
What if he goes live? What if he goes live?
What if he needs to go live. He needs to save us. But it's been a learning experience for me too. I mean, I'm going through this journey together. So I hope people don't get triggered when I try to give like life advice because you just got to know that I'm going through the same thing, guys. Like, I'm learning too. And everyone pretending to put on this front that they've got it all figured out is totally full of shit. I always talk about, there's no gurus out there. And if you're looking for someone else to validate your existence or validate your decisions, like if you're looking externally and not internally, you're always going to be not fulfilled. Yeah.
I mean, like my personal, like I am 100% not a person to listen to about like anything that has to do with your personal life because my personal life is an absolute train wreck. So like, do not listen to me.
Oh
I mean,
man,
like,
give yourself some credit. Come on. Sure, it's pretty good.
I mean, being aware of the train wreck is, a thing, but it's a mess.
Look, you've got fat crypto bags at least, right?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah. I lost
There's
all
always
my
you got to count your blessings, and I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a lot more to to be happy about than to be upset about. But easier said than done, right? I mean, it's so easy to let these things get to us. Like, I'll read one negative comment on Twitter and I'll be thinking about that like for an hour later, and I'll
Forever.
read and then 10 positive comments. I'm like, yay, but it doesn't compute. It doesn't stay with me.
I forget what the actual number is. Like, you need to hear so many positive things for every one negative thing, but it's some like overwhelming number. And yeah, getting that number of positive things to like, it's difficult.
Here's one for you. Hex Siren says she loves you. So
oh, thank you.
there's a lot of pro Nicole today, or nerd girl, sorry.
Yeah, and especially since I've been like away, and there's been time in between, when I was saying everything, there have been so many people who were really mean to me or like really negative about me who have changed their position 5-1. Okay.
I'll take the word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are so many people who like changed or like messaged me and said like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but like, or wow. But I think it's difficult, especially if it's your first cycle and you feel like, I mean, like, Richard has not let you down yet. He's not the price of Hex is not going down. How could you possibly say that? Just saying that is going to make it happen. It's like, no, saying that doesn't make it happen. Selling does.
Yep. Yeah. And also just the fact that we've lived in times of economically, we've lived in like the best decade ever for the past 10 years. So we needed a correction. We were printing money like it was nobody's business and just mismanaging everything, right? We were just got carried away. And so it's almost like a punishment to all of society for just getting caught up in a life of opulence that really we need to just kind of find some humility in this bear market. Maybe.
I feel that like hardcore. I remember thinking like at the beginning of the lockdowns and stuff, like, really did this to ourselves by having everything delivered to our houses in 48 hours or less. Like, we really did this to ourselves.
It's crazy. It's like 100 years ago, you had to go like hunt for your food. They didn't even have refrigerators and stuff. Like, it was awful. Like, only one out of every 4 houses had running water and stuff and electricity. It's even a poor person today has it better off than a king in the 1500s or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. So glass half empty, glass half full. I'm trying to be an optimist out here, trying to rub that off on everyone else too.
Well,
but,
I mean, maybe we can like consciously shift everyone's mindset to be positive, and then that could create some like buying pressure,
Yeah.
But I mean, probably not, because realistically, like, nobody has any money. So that's, that's kind of an issue.
Yeah. They got to start printing again, start hiring people. I think those unemployment numbers were probably bullshit because it seems like a lot of people are getting laid off, but apparently the reports are saying there's more jobs than ever.
Well, but there are like, have you ever, I don't know, like, I don't leave my house enough, honestly, but like whenever I do, it's like every place has a,
right. It's like those lower minimum wage jobs. Yeah, for sure. There's every Jimmy John's needs an extra guy there. Right. But it's like all these tech companies are probably laying people off for good reason. Having worked at a tech company, I could tell you that from personal experience, there's a lot of bullshit jobs out there that, don't require a 40-hour work week. You can probably get it done in 2 or 3 hours a day. What a lot of people, because we've become so hyper efficient, right? But then there's all these, these minimum wage kind of entry level jobs that aren't getting filled, and maybe automation will take up some of those, right? Like that's what Japan is doing. We've got a McDonald's now that has no human beings at it, right? But what are all these people going to do? And it's kind of with this weird, are we heading towards this Orwellian like dystopia where everyone's just fat and happy and they're sitting around all day? They get their Amazon packages delivered by a drone. They never have to leave their house. They got their Big Gulp in one hand and their PlayStation 4 controller in the other. Or maybe it's the Apple, the new Apple mask or some shit.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It's like, is there gonna be? Do you think there's gonna be this just cast of like non-contributors that just get like their universal basic income and that's it? Like, what?
I think almost certainly that's gonna happen.
Idiocracy, right?
Yeah, it's really sad that like, and that's a depressing thing to talk about when we're trying to be like positive, right? But like, yeah, I think almost certainly that's gonna happen.
Yeah. I guess the message, the positive take is like, you can break out of that, guys. You can escape the matrix and you can be a contributor to society rather than just a net consumer. Like, try to look at your consumption to creation ratio. And if you're not making stuff, not adding value to society, well, what are you doing all day, right? And just try to make the world, it's like a cliche Gandhi quote, right? Be the change you want to see in the world. But I mean, Richard says that too. And it's like, if the world sucks, which it kind of does, depending on where you're looking, or depending on how you want to see it, just make it how you want it to be. And I want it to be, everyone's got crypto. Everyone doesn't have to be told what to do, how to transact, with their money. Everyone can go wherever they want. And I want to make everyone rich too. And I think there's a pretty good chance of that in this ecosystem. PulseChain, HEX, PulseX, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even then there are like people who will be, freed from the market, but will still choose to not contribute. That's just a reality.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of people out here. If you're born in the States, even if you were born in the States, you're pretty spoiled, right? Like, totally. We're so sad. We're so addicted to pharmaceuticals and mass shootings all the time. But like, we have so many people are trying to come here. There's a reason that we have an immigration problem, not an emigration problem.
Yep, it's true. I mean, I just saw something on Twitter, I think earlier today, about people, like, it was like someone asked someone in China what percentage of, highly educated, like Chinese people would go to the United States if they were going to be given a green card. And it was like 90%. Like, so, I mean, as bad as we.
Yeah. Even the Chinese want to be over here. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have a pretty unique situation, but
Yeah, I saw a tweet from Paul Graham that was saying that a lot of younger Chinese people, like 25-year-olds, they're more mistrustful of their government than we are. And like, they were very scared about the regime's response to COVID.
Yep.
And, their lockdowns, if you thought ours were bad, it was like, no, we revolted right away. We weren't going to put up with any of that, especially, Florida and all those states. But and which is awesome. That's the beauty of America too, is like we are kind of the last bastion of freedom in certain
we have guns.
We got a lot of guns, that's for sure.
No, I mean, like, there are, I think, cases for and against, being like a population being armed, but realistically, we saw what governments around the world could do to their people when they weren't armed. So it's kind of like, how much worse would it have been if they had thought, every household in America, or, every other household in America has a gun, like, yeah.
Yeah. And I've been to a lot of other countries now, and I haven't been everywhere, but I've I've had some world experience for being a younger guy. And I can tell you that, first of all, I like being where people speak English. I like being able to deeply connect with somebody because I speak the language really, really well. Like, I can learn Spanish, but how am I going to have a conversation about the meaning of life, with someone that it's my second language? I'd have to get really, really good at Spanish to really have those deeper connections. And also, I just feel like, the general mentality in other countries, and I'm not going to say I'm bad. I don't want to sound like I'm dissing other countries here. There's so many beautiful countries that debatably in some ways are a lot better than the US. There's a reason Richard doesn't live in the US, but personal tastes. Different strokes for different folks, and go where you're treated best. But the mentality where you can literally do anything you want, you can try something and you could fail here, and you won't be looked at as like a leper, right? You can go bankrupt and you can try again. And it's just that freedom of making something of yourself, that which is also the same reason a lot of people get depressed over here, is because maybe they're not doing that, and they feel this drive, this inherent like void that they're trying to fill by being significant. Whereas other countries, in Australia, it's called tall poppy syndrome. When one poppy rises up above the rest, they get mowed down to an equal level. So there's a mentality of don't try to be better than everyone else. What are you doing? And they're going to try to drag you back down, crabs in a bucket. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's the case even here with like taxes, right? So it's like there is a point where when you like cross over the 300,000, making $299.99 a year, you're actually, if you're in that lower bracket, like you're making less than, after you've paid taxes than if you were in the high end. And it's like that is extremely demotivating.
Yeah, you work your ass off for the promotion, you're putting in extra hours just to get 10% more. And then, 2 years later, making 10% more is just not even beating inflation. You're literally just trying to stay above water. And it's like, I realized that very early on in my professional career. I worked in finance, I worked in tech. I was like, even if I get to the top of these companies, what am I sacrificing? All my free time? And what am I really adding to the world? I'm just kind of perpetuating the existing financial, this powers that be, the structure. I'm gonna be one of those old guys with gray hair and a suit, and like, more power to that. Maybe I hope they're all happy, but I don't want to be one of those guys that has to work 60-hour weeks, no time for their kids and family.
No.
And maybe you're making $500,000 a year. Relatively, you're at the top of the food chain, but at what cost, right? And not to mention that it's just not. There's not a whole lot to be passionate about in just like moving numbers around and buying and selling bonds and managing portfolios and stuff. It's like I want to be part of the revolution. I want to be part of where the innovation's happening.
Yeah. So. And I mean, that's like, okay, so this is like another dystopian, novel, but like very Atlas Shrugged, right?
I don't know that one. What's that about?
Okay. So it is written. Okay. So it's written by someone who got out. So Ayn Rand, she like got out of, communist USSR, and she wrote it about an America where she was from the perspective of a very wealthy family that created the railway system, and a steel manufacturer who the government kept regulating and saying, okay, you have to give this amount to these people. You have to give this amount to these people. You have to charge this amount. And so eventually, and this was happening to like all of the people who were reaching the pinnacles of their career and contributing the most that they could contribute. And then just one by one, these leading innovators just started disappearing. So, and there's the story of this, woman, Dagny Taggart, who's going through and like, where is everyone going? And people keep saying, who is John Galt? And so she's like trying to figure out this mystery, and ultimately she figures out all of the people who reach their pinnacle ultimately just shrug off the responsibility and leave this dystopian society because they're not getting rewarded in any way for it. So it's like Atlas, the one who carries the weight of the world, shrugs.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, all I know about that book is it's really thick. And so that's a no for me, but thanks for the summary.
Okay, but there's the Ayn Rand Foundation. So Ayn Rand has like this pretty amazing historical figure who has a super, super cult-like following. Like, she's an interesting person. She had a cult-like following in her lifetime. But the Ayn Rand Foundation made a 3-part series of the book Atlas Shrugged, and it's absolutely horrible. Like the most low budget movie that you could possibly imagine. But if you can get past the fact that the production quality is just atrocious, and like just watch the story because they've modernized it, it's worth it. Like,
okay, I'll check it out. Better or worse than The Room?
I don't know. I've never seen The Room.
The Room? Oh man, wait! It's like the world's worst movie.
Okay,
I
should watch it.
It's literally. Oh, not yeah. It's with what's his name? Tommy Wiseau. It's literally like a cult classic because it is known for being the worst movie like ever made. And this
Okay.
guy, he's like he looks like Dracula, right? He's like he wrote
Uh-huh.
the movie, he acted in the movie. He's got a mysterious, origin. He's got some Eastern European accent. No one really knows where he's from and how he got so much money to make this movie. And he was just super confident about the movie the whole time, and kind of like swindled these aspiring actors and actresses to all get into this movie together. Spent a ton of money on it, and it ended up being like comedically bad, but so bad that it actually was good. Like it got him to fame. So bad that they made a parody movie with James Franco about it called The Disaster Artist, which was
Okay.
yeah, I'd recommend that anybody out there.
Okay.
But
But so
Atlas Shrugged.
just so you know, if you do watch these movies, they actually change cast in between each movie. So like the person who plays like Dagny in the first is not the same person as the second or the third. It's really bad. Like
Wow.
it's epically bad. Like it sounds like The Room.
Okay, cool. Sounds like I'd like it. And then I don't have to read all those hard words. I don't
Yeah.
read too good, boys and girls. No, I do audiobooks now. I don't know, man. I used to be so good at reading. Now I just don't. But yeah, so it's like, yeah, every time you try to get ahead, you get sucked down. Go back to the whole crabs in a bucket thing. It's like, I think that's why people, that's one of the good things about America. It's all of the inventions almost in the world are, come from here. All of the latest innovations and patents, tech and otherwise, they all come from here. And it's, why is that? Right. It's like, because we allow that to happen. Whatever it is about our crazy messed up culture, it allows for a lot of innovation. China's always the one copying the US, right? They take all the good stuff and copy it. Kind of like PulseChain and Ethereum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, anyone have success with AI projects? No, sir. I'm not buying that narrative hype wave. I don't think a lot of these AI projects even do real AI, but hey, I could be wrong.
So I think that AI is like a really interesting thing and like super dangerous. It scares the shit out of me, but like but I think one thing that we should be aware of already as this is happening is people are like asking Chat GPT or whatever these other automated AI softwares questions, and when they answer, they're assuming that they're right. And then there are people who are like real experts in topics, and they're like, "Hey, this is wrong because of this and this and this," and people are just kind of like taking the opinion of the AI and but okay, the AI has to be the smartest thing. And the thing is that like these things are corruptible, just like anything.
Yeah, it's only as good as the data you give it. Garbage in, garbage out. And I think this guy might be alluding to like crypto AI. A lot of people are just taking the AI meme because it's so hot right now. They're slapping a coin on it. And I'm not buying into that stuff. But look,
Oh yeah.
ChatGPT, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, these things are very game changing. They
Yep.
don't need a crypto token, but like they're very innovative and cool. But I don't think, and yes, there is a scary, very dark place that the world could go to. What if the AI decides that it knows what's best, right, for a society?
Mhm.
But like you mentioned, I think it's still kind of bad. Like it's just kind of not that good yet. I don't know how much more time we have until the singularity and we're all just the Matrix. We're all just in a little pod or whatever. But I think we have a couple decades at least. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, like, or are we already there? Who knows, really?
Oh yeah,
Right? Like,
we're making a new Matrix. We're in, like, which layer of Matrix are we in?
yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty scary thought. Okay, there was one time I was hiking in the Grand Canyon. Have you ever gone to the Grand Canyon?
No, want to
Okay.
though.
So once you drop below a certain point, your cell phone loses reception, and you might get some at the bottom. Like I don't know. At the time, there really was that didn't exist, but once you get past a certain point, your cell phone loses all signal, and that happens to be the point where I called this thing called like canyon delirium, where you start like kind of free flowing ideas in your head or out loud if you're with people. And it's like, this conversation doesn't make any sense. And it's because I'm delirious. There's this one time when I got to the point of canyon delirium, and I remember this very specifically being like, take off your glasses, take off your glasses. And like, I don't know how to take off my glasses, but I remember doing it in the moment.
What? Hold on
Yeah.
a second. So you get Canyon. Hold on. So people go there and is this a common thing? Like people experience like a
Canyon
weird
delirium
thought?
is definitely a real thing. Yeah.
Okay, so let me Wikipedia this.
I don't know if the term is something that you like might find, but it's a thing.
Canyon. Because I'm super interested in this kind of stuff. Like all the, there's places on the earth where they say like the gravity is different or like the energy is different. Like Sedona, they've got energy vortexes and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely, the supernatural stuff always piques my curiosity. I'm skeptical. I don't just buy everything, but I want to see it for myself. I want to experience it. There's a canyon called Delirium Canyon.
I didn't know about that, but I believe it. I mean, it makes sense. I don't know if you're frozen or if that's me, but if you're still talking, I don't know if you can hear me. If we're like, I'm just gonna wait. Huh? Is it just me? Did he? Cracked that code. I don't know. Am I still here, guys? I don't know. Canyon Delirium. I think Matt's coming back. Yes, I'm still here. All right, cool. So I'll wait for him to come back. This is awkward. Do you guys want to talk about something? I'm going to refresh maybe. I'm afraid that if I do that and he's not here, then it will go away. I'm going to check and see if he's messaging me. Wait, I can see that he's active. Can you guys see him now or no? Yes? No? Talk prices and predictions. I don't have any. Like, it's going to be a while, I think, before it's like full bull market again. Mango, tell us why HEX stakers are wrecked. So I guess you're not wrecked if you haven't realized it, but your on paper net worth is wrecked and or on screen net worth is wrecked. And that definitely has an emotional impact on people, even if they're not planning to realize profits. I know people who are 100% staked, like 100% 555 staked or 100% staked out, 5 years. And even though they are that way, like they still experience the lows of as if they had taken profits or as if they had bought high and sold low. Does that make sense? No? Can't see them. Any pre-sale?
Am I back? Am I back?
You're back. You're back.
Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Rugged. Okay. My bad. Supposed to be a professional over here. Yeah. So where were we? Canyons, stuff like that.
Yeah, Canyon Delirium and removing the goggles. So I really do feel like there are layers in the Matrix and we're probably part of one of them, but I wish that I could tell you how to remove the goggles and get, I don't know, one layer out or one layer deeper. I'm not sure exactly, but I don't know.
It seems unlikely that we'd be the first or the last in the layers of all the multi universes, right? If
Yeah.
every civilization eventually can create their own universe, then it'd probably be almost infinite. So being the first or the last would be pretty rare. Um, I mean, okay, we've been going for an hour.
Mhm.
I don't know if my internet's gonna rug me again, but I do appreciate having you here. Maybe we can just answer like one or two more questions from the chat. I know some people are talking about crypto. Let's get back to crypto, shall we?
Yeah.
Somebody is asking. I mean, this is a totally common question that has been going on for the last month. The age-old debate: EHEX and PHEX. And I want to get your take on that. Do you know the EHEX and PHEX? Will it be pegged, or is there going to be a winner or loser?
I mean, okay, so I feel like what I want to say is the same thing that Richard originally said, which is I don't want to see cheap hex anywhere.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
I have EHEX staked, so I have emotional capital wrapped up in Ethereum hex. Now, yes, it got copied on PulseChain, so PulseChain just does really, really well. Cool, like that I guess compensates for it, but it would be even better if they both did really, really well, right?
It would be, yeah. And there's this interesting development from. Have you followed Dipcatcher at all? He made this new coin like today. It's called CHEX or
Okay.
hexcombinator.com. You can go there right now. I don't know if it's live yet, but he said maybe at some point today. Basically, it's just a token that is mintable if you put in one EHEX and one PHEX on either chain. So you're gonna. So as if this wasn't complicated enough, we're now going to have CHEX, which will always be redeemable for one EHEX and PHEX native to that chain. But then you're also going to have ECHEX and
Yeah.
PCHEX, right? So it's like
Yikes.
I'm trying to figure out. Like it sounds cool, but I'm trying to figure out how that's going to help defend the price on like liquidity pools and stuff.
Uh-huh.
All in my opinion, all we still really need is just more and more liquidity in that EHEX hex pair. And even if the ratio is locked in at 0.6 or 0.7, I'm cool with that. Like 1.6x the number of hex or the value of hex, like going forward. And then if people buy the less liquid, less expensive one, it actually goes up, higher and whipsaws the two together closer.
So usually when there are tokens that are on multiple chains and it's not just like, a fork or not a forked, but so if there's like a token that's on, I don't know, BSC or I don't know, BNB chain and Ethereum, but those tokens are not pegged to one another because they're individual tokens that exist in their individual ecosystem. What happens is that when one becomes expensive, the other one ends up going up in price depending on, how the gas fees work. So like if the gas is really high on Ethereum, the Ethereum version is going to be lower to compensate for the gas fees. But typically speaking, like that's what happens when there are tokens on multiple chains is that the token on the cheapest chain performs well until it's no longer the cheapest anymore.
Right. But I mean, hasn't that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is like the first time that there's been a copy natively. So you've got a full fork and then you've got all the supply copied. I understand like if a coin is bridged to a different ecosystem, if you bridge Chainlink over to Avalanche, maybe there will be some mispricing and people will eventually have to buy it back up one-to-one. But is there something that I'm not aware of?
Yes, there are tokens that exist on multiple chains, and I don't want to say them because I don't want to get accused of being a shill or anything. Like, I'm not going to.
I'm genuinely curious because I want to know how this works. Like I want to see, what happens in the end for those people.
Okay. So I think that Genie is one of those tokens that exists.
Oh, I see why. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to get into it at all. And I don't want to be accused of, but it's just an example. Like that is what happens.
They do. So has it ended up at a 1-to-1 peg or just like this back and forth?
It kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah. But so I guess there's a ratio then like 0.8-to-1, 0.7-to-1.
I think it varies. So it depends on how high the gas fees are on certain networks and different, like I don't actually have any, but it's something that like I do pay attention to sometimes just because I want to know what happens when there's coins on multiple networks.
Yeah, I mean, the only example I would have is, you know, the inflation forever coin that begins with an X.
Yep.
And it's like they launched that one on every single blockchain, but I feel like the hype dies down on every single blockchain except maybe Ethereum. It's still kind of alive. But I kind of feel like they're just like locusts that just fly to the next blockchain, mint the crap out of it, dump it all, and then say, okay, where can we fuck up the gas fees next? You know what I mean? So it's that's not necessarily a great example. And we've already seen ETH proof of work and ETH proof of stake or ETH fair come and go. Basically, I don't, you know, if I was a betting man, those aren't coming back anytime soon, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it's like, well, you got what I just said. I did not want to say the token name because I did not want to get in trouble. You know,
it's all right. You're forgiven. I think everyone's smart enough not to. Well, yeah, they're adults. You know, if you want to buy that crap coin, go ahead, guys. But I'm not endorsing that.
Yeah.
So, but that's good to know. I mean, yeah, definitely. I don't think EHEX is dead. I think that's a binary way to look at it, alive or dead, and it's obviously going to be alive in some aspect. It's just the importance.
As long as there's liquidity, as long as someone is LPing for it, it's going to have a price. The price could be like next to nothing, but it's going to be, you know.
Yeah, I mean, very few coins ever truly die, but I think EHEX, you know, will perform okay too, and especially like you said, if it's locked to liquidity, I'd love to see an INC pair for it. But we've got this new project called PHUX.io. And they do like deep liquidity pools. It's a fork of Balancer. And I've already seen somebody create an EHEX HEX liquidity pair over there that could potentially be even more efficient too, because they're weighted differently. Like maybe you weight it 60-40, 60% PHEX, 40% EHEX. And you kind of just like lock in the ratio like that. Because maybe more.
You're frozen again. No, rugged again.
The pulse chain without wanting to be in is going to survive. In addition to the fact that just ETH fees aren't going to be high forever. ETH is not just, it's not going to suck forever. It's going to suck for a couple of years, but they're going to bring the fees down too. And then it's like, okay, you've got literally a double copy. So pick which one you like better, I guess. So, are you frozen?
No, you were frozen for a really long time.
You might be frozen there, girl.
I'm frozen now?
CHEXX, any airdrops? No, not for that one. In order to mint CHEX, you need to provide one EHEX and one PHEX. Oh God, another token. I understand the mentality, Mango Junkie. I don't know. I've got my eyes on this CHEX thing, but I don't know how or if people are going to adopt it, one. And two, if you know how that's going to help. Like we're going to need an ECHEX PCHEX liquidity pool, right? And that's just really confusing. So okay, I just refreshed the page. You're back again.
Okay, good. We're back.
You were frozen for a little while, but
you were frozen for me.
Oh, really? Yeah. I wonder what the people heard. All right, guys. Obviously, the internet gods are not in our favor today, so let's wrap it up. We've been going for an hour anyway. I really appreciate you coming on as always. Thanks for everything you do in the community. Is there anything you want to shill before we leave?
No, not at all. I mean,
really?
like take care of yourselves, honestly, because your wealth means absolutely nothing without your health.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, guys. I mean, that's good advice. Good advice. Hey, guys, smash the likes, like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.